Hello everyone, my name is Crystal and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then hit that subscribe button because we're friends, we just haven't met yet. Hello everyone, if you can hear me, let me know in the chat. I got a few things that I want to go over today. A lot of you have probably already watched the stream of Smileys. I watched it yesterday. I had to watch it in portions, but I did watch it, and a couple of things bother me with that live. I'm actually trying to be respectful, and I do want to first and foremost say that I do believe in innocent until proven guilty. What I won't do on my channel is accuse people that I have no clue if they are guilty or innocent. But like I said, when I watched that live, there was some things that stood out to me. And since day one, I have said the kids are what matter most. And that has not changed. Until the day that I go off YouTube, that's what this channel will support, is the children that are involved in it. Most of you already know my story. For those of you that don't, I am a foster mom. Summer Wells changed my life. Because of Summer going missing and me understanding that online there is nothing I can do to make a change, I got into the foster care system to take care of kids that need my help. I have dedicated every waking moment to that mission since the day I was certified. I do not regret that for a moment. It is one of the biggest blessings that I have ever had in my life. With that being said, I heard some things said on that live that I want you all to know, from my perspective, is absolutely untrue. If you watched the live, please put a 1 in chat. That way I know how much I need to go back. And for those of you that may watch this on the replay, Smiley's story has the full live. I won't be playing that live on my channel. There was a lot of foul language and a lot of language that I do not agree with. And if I can avoid having it on my channel, I'm going to. But like I said, some people may say you are a Wells sympathizer. I am not. But I am a huge sympathizer of the kids. I just said on my last live that I don't want to put out anything that I can't live with tomorrow. And when it comes to foster care, I think that, I have a pretty upfront, in your face point of view about it. I live it every day. I've not just had one or two kids in my home, I have had several. With that being said, I also heard out of Mr. Wells's mouth that keeping their kids is making people rich. We'll start there. Each month, I am given an amount that, regardless if they need it or not, has to be spent on the children in my home. You have got to show receipts for everything that you spend on these kids. Now, the title of my other than I need to vent of my live is Let's Talk Numbers. Now, I do realize that each agency gives their foster parents a different stipend, and each child is a different amount, with a max amount for a level 5. Normally, these kids do not start out as a level 5. In my state and through the agency that I go through, every 6 months, now think of that, they reevaluate their tier level. Tier 1, meaning there's no behaviors, to Tier 5, who could be a kid that is completely disassociated with relationships, or they've had so much trauma that they have a hard time coping and dealing. Now, when it comes to the kids in my home, I will be the first to tell you I spend more than I'll make. And I'm fine with that. I can only speak from my point of view on this, from my experience, and that's all I intend to do. By all means, I cannot talk for everyone that is in foster care. I've had kids that tell me horror stories, and I won't make them out of a liar. I can only tell you what goes on in my home. And to categorize everybody that is a foster parent into the same category as being in this to get rich, and I quote, I think is a big mistake. If you all can hear me, let me know in the chat. Just leave me a 1, whatever, emoji, it don't matter. I'm trying to kind of focus on my points here because it does upset me. It upsets me because sometimes when we watch online, we can overlook a lot of things. But when it's actually in your home, you don't. I don't care a bit to tell you all what I get. Not one bit. I get $24 a day for a child that's in my home right now. I drive 50-some miles one way to therapy. That's one appointment that I have every week. Her doctor is also 50-some miles away one way. Now, that's not counting her psychiatrist, who lives in the same county, and the mileage pretty much adds up too. That's not counting the stuff you have to buy for the kid if it's sick. But let's go all the way back to when most of these kids come into your home. Most of them come into your home with a small bag, and I've said this before, but if you can imagine it, look at all the stuff that's in your closet right now, that's in your kids' closets. These kids come into your home with a small bag that has everything they own in it. And when I say a bag, I'm not talking a grocery bag or a garbage bag. I'm talking about a small grocery bag. Now, it's your responsibility to make sure these kids make it to every, hello, midnight, to make it to every appointment. The girl, not counting her child, that's in my home has at least 3 a week. That's not counting training or any other appointment that I have that has to do with foster care. So the thought that you're going to get rich in your mansion on the hill, and yes, I am quoting that, is ridiculous. I will also say that maybe every foster parent isn't like me. I've heard the horror stories too. And I'm not putting myself on no pedestal, but the only thing that I can do is tell you from my point of view and from my experience how it's been. Now, jumping through hoops. I think that's how he worded it. They've got us jumping through hoops while these other people get rich, okay? I'm paraphrasing that, but it was said. Like I said, I've had a lot of kids come in and out of my home. Some that went back to their biological parents, some that was given to family members of the biological parents, and some that aged out. The majority of the kids that's been in my home have been teenagers. I chose teenagers because they have a harder time placing a teen than they do a small child. Now, what I found, each month I have 2 workers that come to my home. Just a second. Each month I have 2 workers that come to my home. One from the agency that I go through, and one is the state worker. I have a home inspection twice a month. The battery cannot be low in your fire alarm. If it's chirping, you can be rolled up for that. They inspect my home with a fine-tooth comb. However, I have been gave short notice, like within 2 or 3 hours, that a kid's leaving my home and going back to a family member, going to next to kin. And then I find out they didn't inspect their home. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't care a bit. They can walk into my house anytime. I signed the papers saying they could. And search my home. Look through it. Go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I don't care. I signed up for that. But I guarantee you, when I got into foster care, money was not the agenda. No, Mr. Wells, it was your daughter. Your daughter is the one that started opening my heart up to taking kids into my home. Again, I am not going to be the creator. If you're watching because you think I'm going to sit here and accuse the Wells of harming their kid, you're on the wrong channel. But I will call out crap when I see it. You say your kids are on medicine. Just a second. Okay. You say your kids is on medicine. I have had kids that came into my home that was not on medicine and ended up having to have medicine. I will say this. It wasn't a simple therapy session that got them put on medicine. They have to go to psychiatrists to be put on a lot of their medicine. There is a form that is filled out every single time I take a kid to a doctor, regardless of what type of doctor that is. And on that form, they have to fill out what happened that day, how was the kid that day when the kid come in, what medicines they put them on, why they put them on, what is the estimated time that they may have to be on this medicine, and what is the follow-up procedure because they are on this medicine. So it ain't easy for the doctors either. Now, when this kid gets home, and after their prescription has been filled, each day I have to fill out a paper saying whether they took that medicine, whether they refused the medicine, why, and I have to sign it. Just a second. It's easier for me to tell you what all has to be filled out if I'm looking at it. Kiki says, when I was a foster parent, I had to take them children to the counselor to diagnose what they needed. A lot of them came from horrible homes, and still to this day, they call me Nana, but not all. Yeah. I asked my foster daughter a question last night. And it was questions that some of the kids will tell you when they come in. Now, me and my foster daughter have got really, really close. I don't even really like using the word foster. She's my bonus daughter, okay? She may not be blood, but she's mine. And I asked her, I said, do you remember what it was like your first day of? And I had the boys in my mind when I asked this question. I said, do you remember what it was like the first day you got put in foster care? And she said, yeah. I said, are you comfortable with telling me about it? She was. She said for a week she cried every night. Every single night. And think about it. Some of you may have been in foster care. Some of you foster parents. Some of you may be biological parents that have been through the system. Maybe you worked a plan and you got your kids back, and I praise you for that. But you're taken from your surroundings and you're put into a home that you've never been to before. You're laying down to sleep in a strange place. And I would love to say that's the only home that you will enter, but the odds are it isn't. My foster daughter was in 6 homes before she got to me. And then as a foster parent, you see some of these kids. They come from homes that, you pray they never have to go back to. And I am one of those foster moms that the goal is reunification. I'll support the parents. I will. If they don't have the money to get to one of their meetings, I'll send them the money to get to their meetings because I care for their kid. And then you have some parents that don't work the plan. They don't. Some of them don't make it to the visits, don't tell you they're not coming. And you are the one that's comforting those kids on the way home. Out of all the kids that's been in my home, almost one thing is a given. The kids' whole demeanor will change the day it has visitation. That night will be harder. That's the night they need you more. And now, if you can imagine, when the parents don't show up, period, and that kid's waiting, how much harder it is. Just a second. It breaks your heart, you all. It breaks your heart. And I can't pretend to know. I know how the Wells boys are doing because I don't. Don't know what kind of home they're in. I can guarantee you that if they're on medicine, something led to that, because doctors are not going to risk losing their license just to write out meds, especially for children. Think about that. Just a second. But what I saw, and some of you may say, Crystal, you're judging. Well, maybe I am. But what I saw was somebody that was very, very disrespectful to whatever parents, foster parents, is taking care of their kids. And to put us all in the same category as some people that may actually try to do it for the money, that's disrespectful. But Mr. Wells, I will say this. You either don't have a friend or a mirror, because either would have told you that's not a good look for you. Now, I'm not dogging you. I don't believe anybody wakes up wanting to be an alcoholic or an addict. Not one kid will you look in the eyes and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Not one of them is going to say, I think when I grow up, I want to be an alcoholic. Not one of them will say, I think I want to be an addict. So I'm not looking at him any different. But if you have a friend, they will tell you, getting online, cussing every other word, and then say, God bless you, does not make it better. Do not take your anger out on the people that are not responsible for it. Because the fact is that since your boys has been in custody, there's been somebody else that has been there when they're sick. There has been another family that has been taking care of them when they're scared at night. There's some poor foster mom out there, I am sure, that sat up all night the night they came to her house because they were crying or didn't feel safe. And I'm not saying that it's because they didn't feel safe at home. I'm saying you take anybody and put them in an environment that they are not used to and they're having a hard time that night. You don't just lay down and sleep peacefully. You said your kids was fine when they were with you. They didn't need medicine. Did you talk to them? Did you ask them how they were feeling? And I hate to be real blunt right now, people, but he didn't want to come home that day because he said he'd be there by himself. Well, his boys was there. Why didn't you go home and talk to them? Again, I am not accusing these parents of doing anything to hurt their daughter. But I am saying that with the interview that you gave, what I imagine could have only been a drunken stupor, made you look so ungrateful. And until you've walked a mile in people's shoes that do sacrifice everything, we sacrifice our time. Let me tell you, I used to go on the road all the time with my husband, at least 4 times a year. I can't do that now. But what I do get is I get to know the kids that come into my home on a personal level. I get to hold their hand or let them put their head on my shoulder when they're crying. That means far more to me than a trip. But I'll tell you something else I've done. I have also canceled my own doctor's appointments to make sure they make it to theirs. I put them first, as I do my own biological kids. And I'll be honest with you, I've said in the courthouse many times, scared to death, that a kid was going to be sent back to parents that aren't making an effort. Do you know what that's like? Don't come at me sideways about foster care, because I dedicate my life to it. I love the kids in my home. I've loved each and every one of them. I have formed a bond with each and every one of them. Some of them still message me and call me. Most of them call me mom. And the reality of the honor that is not lost on me. You want to get your kids back? Quit drinking, sir. Smiley ma'am not said it, but I will. She said she was just asking, and I imagine she was, because ain't staying sober part of your plan. Focus on your boys. Do what you have to do to get them back. Because it isn't the internet you need to prove it to. It's them. You are losing precious time. Now, I don't pretend to know all the details in this case. I never have. But if you look back on my channel from day one, I have said, and I stand behind it, that just because somebody don't keep the cleanest house, don't make them a murderer. It don't mean they done something nefarious to their kid. An alcoholic don't mean they done something nefarious to their kid. I was raised with an alcoholic. He was the best dad you ever laid eyes on. I've said that before. And that is not even what all this is about. Not in the slightest. It's not about their guilt or their innocence. But don't you dare get on here and knock the people that are putting a roof over your kid's head, because that's as ungrateful as it comes. And let me tell you, in case you don't know, they aren't getting rich. I know this live has been a little bit different, but it breaks my heart. I know firsthand what it's like when somebody hasn't been trying. They don't show up for, and I'm not talking about the wells. I'm saying in general, I have been to this particular spot before. This stuff has happened. You drive 45 minutes to go to a parental visit, and they don't show up. And that kid cries the whole way home. You spend the rest of that day, you fix them their favorite meal. You try to make it all about them. Anything to make their day go better. And when you lay down that night, you pray for them. And you worry. And then I also know what it's like to have those very parents look at you like you're in it for the money. I can't tell you what they get paid for the boys. I don't. Every kid is a different. I mean, I've had kids come in my home that were $54 a day. I'll tell you right now, they were a tier 4. I get $24 a day, and I guarantee you I spend 3 times that. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, if kids are put on medicine, it's because they need it. Let me repeat that. If kids are put on medicine, it's because they need it. A teacher has noticed something, or the parent. Now, maybe these kids didn't need no medicine when they were in your home. But have you thought for the first second that you're not the only one suffering? It's not all about you. As harsh as that may sound, you have 3 boys that are far more important than your feelings. If you want a reason to get sober, they are enough. Don't get on YouTube and blame everybody but yourself. And don't do it while it sounds like you're drunk. I can't pretend to sit back and say I know exactly what I would do if I had a missing kid. I don't. I have no clue. My husband and I buried 2 kids in 2005, and we both grieved differently. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the proper way to grieve is, because I don't. Everybody grieves differently. But I will tell you this. Drinking is not going to help it. And in the words of my granny, you can't be a straddle pole. You'll either be for God or you'll be against him. And I'm sorry you've not had a preacher to tell you that. But the Bible says that you'll be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. The Bible also says that it would have been better that you never known the ways of the Lord than to know him and turn from it, because you're like a dog turned into its own vomit. Now, you said in jail that you read the Bible a couple times. Read it again, because my Lord won't be made a mock of. He is a jealous God. Exactly, Midnight. He don't understand what they went through. He don't understand their individual thoughts. He don't understand what medicines they may or may not need. Thank God these kids are getting therapy. And to the foster mom that's giving them love, I thank you. Like I said, I cannot say that all homes run like mine. But I can tell you, you are not going to get rich doing foster care. You know, I legitimately pray, not just for Summer, but for this whole family, for all the shattered pieces in it and all the broken hearts. But, sir, at one point or another, you're going to have to start doing that for yourself. Your boys are worth it. And they are every reason in this world that you can put a bottle down. Don't tell me that you was on there sober, because I don't feel that you were. The spirit of flow from breast to breast. You know, even you said one of those kids blamed himself. You don't think that one thing could cause him to need some medicine? He's a kid. You want to talk numbers, Mr. Wells? How many times has your kids been awake at night scared that you say your daughter was abducted? How many times have they been awake afraid they may be next? How many times have they been awake worried about you and your wife? Have some respect. And trust me, if they was pocketing every dime, they wouldn't be getting rich. Like I said, I get $24 a day. Out of that, I buy the clothes. I help keep the electric on. I help their haircuts, stuff for school, extra activities after school. If they need tutoring, I help pay for that. If they enter sports, I take them to and from all of those. And I make darn sure they make it to every appointment they're scheduled. Now, if you've got a calculator, do the math. I'm telling you. You have no idea what these boys are going through. Yes, you do. You spend more money than what you give. I have said since day one, if you are in foster care for the money, you'll go broke. Not only is it the wrong reason to be in it, but you will go broke. And you want to throw up the medical cards they get, the dental, the vision. You don't think your kids needs that health care? Is that what you're saying? You know what? You need to surround yourself with people that actually care about you instead of getting on YouTube trying to convince the people that could care less. You choose. Now, I'm not saying smileys, but you choose some panels to go on to that you know they're going to rip you apart. If I could give you any advice, it's get sober and really read your Bible this time. It ain't all about you. You all, I know this has been a different life. It really bothered me. It really bothered me. The lack of respect that this foster parent got on that live the other day. You know, I don't need to know the answers, but I would be really curious and ask. And Mr. Wells, if you ever watch this, you can write them down and answer them to yourself, okay? But answer it. Have you missed a visit? Have you called every time your kid had a doctor's appointment? Don't tell me you didn't know about it, because guess who gives permission for those? I'm not allowed to. You know what? The best thing you could do, log off the internet and start working on yourself. because the language that was coming out of your mouth, those kids don't need to be around. If you're drinking and that's the attitude you have when you drink, they don't need to be around that either. Work on yourself, sir, so you can be there for your sons. They are still here. You know where they're at. You will not hear me get on my channel and accuse you. Not until a jury of your peers does. But I will tell you this. You can judge them by the fruit they bear. And what I'm seeing is a mess. It looks like you're going right back to what you were doing before you got arrested. And that does not help your kids. Oh, I know, Midnight. There's a lot that have put out hateful words about the boys. I won't do that. I won't do that. And I will not get on here and accuse parents that I have no proof did anything to their kid. But what I do have proof of is that live that you did on Smiley's, Mr. Wells, and I know you were 3 sheets to the wind, because the longer the interview went on, the worse you got. Don't knock the people that's taking care of your kids, putting a roof over their head, putting food in their bodies, and is comforting them when they need it. Don't do that. It's disrespectful. We would rather you bow your head and thank God that there is people willing to give up their time, their money, and their energy to take care of your kids, because you're not doing it. And like I said, those questions I ask, I didn't ask for you to give me an answer. But you sit in your own quiet time and you think of them. Have you made it to all the visits? Have you called every time they have an appointment? Have you seen how their health has been? Have you asked about their mental health since they've been in care? Everybody else is asking you, have you called TBI? Sir, I'm asking you, have you called your worker to see how your sons are? And like I said, I'm not asking you so you can come on a panel and answer me. If you can't answer those questions to yourself, you sure ain't going to answer them to somebody else. But sir, be grateful. Be grateful that there is people out there that is willing to love your kids, put food in their mouth, a roof over their head, make sure they go to school and get the education that they deserve, and make sure that they make it to them doctor's appointments where evidently they're getting medicine that you think, because you're a doctor now, they shouldn't have. When you have a degree, then why don't you tell me what they need and what they don't? You have no clue what they have been through. So don't sit there on your mountain and act like you know it. You all, I appreciate you for joining me today. Pray for these boys. Pray for those foster parents that have them. And more than anything, let's pray for Summer. You know, like I said, I don't know how I'd react if my kid was missing. I don't. But I can tell you this. In 2005, when I lost everything, including 2 kids, to a house fire, I never forgot the people that did things for me. I still remember the first $10 that was gave to me to go see my husband in a burn unit. And I'm grateful for it. I'm sorry if I haven't been responding to chat much. But people take what they hear on the internet and they go with it. And I'm here to tell you that there ain't no foster parent getting rich off of kids. Or not from what I've saw. I don't know that Don Wills will ever watch my channel. But if he does, I hope something helped. Because I'm not going to patty cake with nobody. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. From day one on my channel, I've said it's been about the kids, and it is. Some of the things that came out of your mouth about what could have happened to Summer made me sick. I never laid eyes on her. I never heard her little sweet voice. But I can't take my mind to think those things. And I refuse to. I refuse to. This is not in no way a video to make it look like I'm against the Wells and all this. No, it's not. That's not what I'm about. But I think credit needs to be given where it's due. And somewhere there is a foster parent that is taking care of their kids. And I firmly believe that God knows exactly where Summer is. She's never been lost to him. There's never been a time that he didn't know what was going on in her life. Nothing is a mystery with my God. Amen. I made this for Summer's birthday, and I'm going to play it as we go out because there's never been one time that my God wasn't able. I love you all. Remember, it takes 0 effort to be a good human being. Seems that the storm just won't play. Is there a mountain running you? Downstairs will never move. You wonder who God made the way. Till the time He's not faithful. Till the morning His mercies are new. Till be a moment when He was unable to carry His through. Till be a day He
I fight